Most owner operators have been sold a dangerous idea, a lie, dressed up like help, a trap packaged like support. The lie is this: if you want to make more money in trucking, you need a dispatcher. If you want consistency, you need a dispatcher. If you want better freight, well, you need a dispatcher. And if you want to grow, can't do that, you need a dispatcher. But the truth is far more dangerous than most people even realize. For a lot of owner operators, dispatchers are not solving the problem. They're becoming the problem. And until you understand that, you will keep giving away control of your business piece by piece, load by load, week after week, still wondering why you are moving but never really getting ahead, never achieving your goals. Most truck drivers start their businesses for freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to earn more, freedom to build something of their own, freedom to stop making someone else rich. But what happens then? They hand the most important part of their business right back to someone else. The freight strategy, the lane decisions, the rate conversations, the customer patterns, the entire rhythm of the business. Once this happens, you may own the truck, but you don't control the operations. And if you don't control the operations, you can't control the outcome. A lot of owner operators are driving trucks that they own inside a business that unfortunately they don't control. And when you build a business like that, you're not really operating. You're reacting. You are waiting on a text, waiting on a call, waiting on a load, and ultimately waiting on someone else to tell you where your money is supposed to come from this week. That's not ownership. That's outsourced dependency. And dependency is very expensive. It's expensive financially, mentally, emotionally, and operationally. Once your business gets trained to depend on a dispatcher, you stop learning the actual skills of building a freight system. And if you never build those skills, you can never build structure. And if you don't build the structure, well, you're stuck in survival mode, chasing, wondering, guessing, making just enough to pay the bills and pray that next week things will get better. This video is not about hating on dispatchers. It's about exposing a broken dependency model that keeps owner operators weak, reactive, and broke. Because there's a difference between assistance and surrender. And there's a difference between support and handing over the steering wheel. A lot of truck drivers, they don't hire dispatchers from a position of strategy. They hire them from a position of uncertainty and stress. They go out, they open their own authority, they buy a truck, and finally step out to be their own boss. Then suddenly, they find they have new expenses, a truck payment, insurance, fuel costs, but no real operational blueprint. So they immediately start looking for relief, and the dispatcher becomes the first visible answer. And not because it's the best answer, but because it's the fastest emotional answer. It feels like someone is going to help. Someone's going to come in, take the pressure off, help bring order in chaos, and rescue them from uncertainty. But rescue and results are not the same thing. Something can feel like relief and still be a trap. Immediate relief often creates long-term dependency. And dependency is one of the fastest ways you can stay broke. Because now your business is not built on a system. It's built on one person or a company. You never want your business model resting on another person's consistency, motivation, or priorities. Because that can be very fragile. That is like borrowed stability. And borrowed stability, well, it eventually breaks. This is what happens when owner-operators build around a dispatcher without building their own operational intelligence. Everything looks okay until the dispatcher stops producing, until they disappear, until they stop answering the phone, or they get lazy, or they take on way too many clients. And then they start putting you on bad freight, chasing gross numbers instead of net profits. That's when the cracks start to show up. And in a moment, that's when you realize things were never really that stable. You were only supported. Real stability comes from structure, not from support alone. The trucking industry punishes weak structure fast. It doesn't care how hard you work, how early you wake up, how many miles you run, or how badly you want it. It only rewards structure. Structure decides where money stays, whether profits survive, whether growth is sustainable, or whether your trucking company is a tool or a burden. But a lot of dispatch relationships are built with no structure at all. Just movement, just loads, just calls, just texts, just what can you get me today? That's not a business. That is daily survival dressed up like operations. And survival, it always feels busy. That's why so many owner-operators mistake activity for progress. You can be moving all week and still be losing. Booked all week, still be leaking money. Loaded all week and still be broke at the end of the month. A loaded truck does not actually mean a profitable truck. A moving truck can be bleeding. A loaded week can be a losing week. A busy operator can be a broke operator, because gross movement is not the same as net profits. Many dispatchers are optimized around movement, not margin. Movement makes them look productive. Movement makes you feel active. And movement creates the illusion that something good might be happening. But dig this, the real question is not whether the truck stayed moving. The real question is what that movement left behind. How much profit do you have left? What did it cost in fuel, wear and tear, maintenance, mental fatigue, control, and future positioning? Because every bad load is not just bad because of what it pays. It's bad because of what it creates. A bad load can pull you out of your market, put you in a weak reload area, create unnecessary deadhead, and force emotional decision making, which then leads to the next bad load, which turns into a bad week and then eventually turns into a bad month. Then you start to think, trucking doesn't work, when really it's just that the structure you have isn't working. This is where the identity shift has to happen. Most operators are still thinking like a driver who happens to own a truck, not like an operator building a real cash flow machine. A driver thinks, what load can I get next? An operator thinks, what lane structure produces the most predictable weekly net profits? A driver thinks, how can I stay moving? But an operator thinks, how do I stay efficient? A driver, how much does this load pay? An operator thinks, what does this load produce after fuel, time, wear and tear, downtime? A driver asks about revenue, while an operator studies profit retention. This is the shift. And dispatchers often keep people trapped on the wrong side of that shift. Because if someone else is doing all the loading, finding loads, negotiating, and customer interaction, you never actually have the opportunity to mature as an operator. You may gain some experience driving, but you don't gain mastery operating. And mastery is the ability to do something without the use of conscious resources. And the thing you never master will always ultimately control you. Whatever you don't understand deeply, you remain dependent on. The truth in this business is money, health, and operations are things you need to have in control. This is why control is more valuable than convenience. Convenience feels good in the moment, but control pays in the long run. Convenience, well, it says, let somebody else handle it.